Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. The crew had the challenging role of laying seismic cable during the frozen month of February in the Alaskan backcountry, and they were just rolling out their last spindle. The final step would be a pulsating test that vibrated the ground. After everything checked out, they would return to the warmth of their homes and their families. A 40-something man was pacing to the test panel and back to the carefully placed monitoring system in the final phases of his work. Nearing a large clump of roots and limbs, he watched as a huge brown bear head suddenly protruded from the snow and contemptuously eyed him briefly before disappearing once again. As the man wrapped up the final step with the monitor, he turned around to see a huge brown bear closing in on him from mere yards away. The snow offered no traction to escape the angry predator, and the man could do nothing to escape the bear's jaws. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Winter hangs heavy over the Kenai Peninsula, that sweep of Alaskan land where the boreal forest meets the sea. In February, the world there feels abandoned by the silence. Its spruce trees laden with snow, its frozen wetlands stitched with the frosted fingers of ice. The Swanson River area north of Kenai is a labyrinth of frozen muskeg and low ridges, dotted with black spruce, paper birch, and quaking aspen. Beneath them, willow thickets and wild roses weave into tangles that conceal the dens of small creatures, and sometimes the resting places of much larger ones. Even in winter, life presses on. Moose move heavily through the snow, browsing on frozen willow tips. Snowshoe hares dart like ghosts between fallen logs. Brown bears, the undisputed rulers of these forests, should be asleep in their dens, breathing slow clouds of frost through the narrow entrances they dig into north-facing hillsides. But not every bear's sleep is perfect, and not every human remembers how deeply wild this land remains. Audelio Luis Cortes, aged 40, was part of a seismic crew working in the Swanson River oil and gas field, a patchwork of forest and ice-locked streams managed by the Bureau of Land Management. He was a hard-working man, used to Arctic winter fatigue. His job, laying seismic lines for subsurface exploration, required precision, endurance, and trust in the men who walked beside him. Each morning they would trudge through knee-deep snow, unspooling wire, and placing charges that would map the mysteries below the frozen ground. There was no record that Cortez carried bear spray or a firearm. Few oil-field laborers did in February, when the general assumption was that every bear was safely denned. His companions likely carried only standard field gear, ice augers, spools of wire, and the constant clatter of tools against metal sleds. Perhaps for these men, the idea of a bear encounter in the dead of winter seemed almost absurd, but in the frozen frontier of Alaska, assumptions can turn fatal in a heartbeat. The Kenai Peninsula has long stood as one of Alaska's most complex ecosystems, where human industry overlaps ancient animal corridors. By the late 1990s, seismic exploration and logging had carved narrow access roads deep into the wilderness. Each road became a ribbon of scent, noise, and vibration that reached into the densest bear territory. Environmental stressors may have shaped that winter's tragedy. In the years leading up to 1998, a series of mild winters had altered the bears' denning patterns. Earlier thaws meant that some dens lacked stable insulation, and bears occasionally stirred midwinter, agitated by temperature shifts or human noise. Events may have unfolded under precisely these conditions: a restless brown bear, a work crew walking through heavy snow, and the reverberation of seismic tools, waking something that should have remained asleep. It happened in February 1998 in a stand of spruce and alder west of the Swanson River. The men were stringing seismic lines, one of the final phases of the day, moving in single file through the snow. Their boots made dull rhythmic sounds, the sort that echoed faintly in the winter stillness. Ahead, the trail cut across a small rise of wind-packed snow. None of them knew that beneath that mound of roots and soil lay the den of a brown bear, a mother, or perhaps a solitary male, curled in the half-dreaming torpor of hibernation. The crew's passage must have carried vibrations straight into the narrow chamber of Earth. The bear had already been restless, stirred by the strange mechanical pulse of seismic testing. Maybe the scent of diesel, sweat, and unfamiliar footsteps reached its senses like an alarm. Audelio was winding up one of the final steps in his work for the day when he wandered too close to the opening of the bear's den. As he stepped toward the monitor, Audelio noticed a huge brown bear head suddenly protruding from the snow, only a few yards from his location. He watched as the bear's head disappeared back into the den, and hoped the bear had just wanted to look for the source of the disturbance. Turning back toward the monitor, Audelio wrapped up a quick test, only to turn around to see the massive bear had busted through the encrusted snow around the den opening. It was now charging toward him at full speed, and would be on him in a fraction of a second. His co-workers looked on and began to yell, hoping that Audelio could find some means of escape. They heard their friend and co-worker yell as the bear overtook him. Taking the top portion of Audelio's head in its mouth, the bear crushed his skull with a single bite. His arms dropped limply to his sides as his life was extinguished with one bite. As soon as the bear killed Audelio, it turned back toward its den, billowing clouds of frozen breath. It disappeared into the den as the men watched in frozen terror. Co-workers hurried to Audelio's side, hoping to find a way to revive him and save his life. Their efforts were futile, as his wounds were gruesome and unsurvivable. Emergency response teams reached the site within hours, guided by snow machines and still-shaken workers. They found Cortez where he had fallen, his tools scattered in the snow. Wildlife officials identified tracks leading directly to a nearby den, confirming that the bear had been hibernating less than 50 feet from the seismic line. The brown bear, likely an adult female judging by track, width, and stride, was killed by wildlife officers later that day after it re-emerged aggressively near the recovery team. A necropsy showed no signs of illness or starvation. It was simply a healthy bear startled from winter sleep. Investigators concluded that the crew's movement had passed too close to the den, triggering an instinctive defensive response. The tragedy sent shockwaves through Alaska's oil and resource industries, leading to new winter protocols for seismic operations. Workers were instructed to avoid den-like mounds and to survey potential sites, using aerial thermal imaging whenever possible. Alaska is home to an estimated 30,000 brown bears, with the Kenai Peninsula hosting a few hundred at most. The density here, roughly one bear for every 20 to 30 square miles, is lower than in coastal regions, like Kodiak, but still significant. The Swanson River basin, carved by glacial valleys and rich in salmon streams, has long been prime bear habitat. Wildlife management records from the 1990s list only a handful of fatal brown bear attacks on the Kenai Peninsula, making Cortez's death particularly rare. Prior to this event, most winter months pass without an incident, as bears typically den from November through April. The 1998 incident remains one of the very few confirmed midwinter bear fatalities ever documented in Alaska. As industry activity expanded through the 90s, the Alaska Department of Fish and Game noted rising tension between exploration and wildlife protection, leading to stricter oversight on den detection and seasonal work zones. The bear's motives were almost certainly defensive, not predatory. Territorial aggression may have played a role, as the den represented the bear's sanctuary, a sacred boundary in the wild. It's possible the seismic vibrations and human scent reached the sleeping animal gradually, creating a confused state between instinct and fear. Predatory behavior in brown bears during hibernation is virtually unheard of, and all evidence suggests this was a startled bear defending its immediate refuge. There was no animal carcass cached nearby. The bear was not reacting in defense of cubs, as none were seen at the attack site, nor found in the den. Speaking of cubs, our Cub Tier membership on Patreon linked below will give you ad-free early access to photos, notes, and episodes. And the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Are you surprised the brown bear woke up during torpor or hibernation? Can human expansion into winter landscapes ever truly account for the unseen dens beneath our feet? And what unpredicted cost does progress carry when the price of discovery is sometimes measured in lives, both human and animal? In the decades since that February day, snow has fallen and melted countless times across the Swanson River basin. The bear is gone, and so is the man it killed, but the memory of their collision endures like a scar on Alaska's frozen earth. For every worker who enters the forest now, Cortez's story is a reminder that the land remembers, and that beneath even the quietest mound of snow, the heartbeat of the wild still echoes. I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.